All right. Welcome to today's session. Let me share my slides so that we can be on the same page. Okay. Now, welcome everyone. And today we'll be talking about the concept of innovation. The concept of innovation. All right. Uzamaka, you're welcome. Isaac, you're welcome. All right. Now, in case you have a question, you can type it in the chat box. I will read it as we proceed. All right. Today, we'll be talking about the concept of innovation, and innovation, we'll be defining the concept of innovation, the nature of innovation, and the types of innovation that there are. We'll start by discussing the concept of innovation. Now, anytime you hear the word innovation as an entrepreneur, it's important you try to understand what it's all about. It's very, very important. Innovation has so many definitions, so we'll be highlighting just some of them so we can get a hang of what it means. Innovation is the process of translating an idea or invention into a good or service, or into goods or services that creates value, or for which customers will pay. That is, goods or services that can be commercialized. So for something to be called an innovation, such an idea must be replicable at an economical cost. That is, you must be able to sell it and people can pay for it. And such an idea should be able to satisfy a specific need. Innovation involves deliberate application of information, imagination, and in initiative in deriving greater or different value from resources, and includes all the processes by which new ideas are generated and converted into useful products. So in business, like for the entrepreneur, innovation like I said, innovation for the entrepreneur could be something new. It could be uh, um, a process that is new. It could be a value-driven activity that is new, or a new market opportunity. So innovation can be any of all these. All right. So for the entrepreneur, innovation often results when ideas are applied by maybe a company in order to further satisfy the needs and expectation of their customers. In a social context, innovation helps create new methods for alliance creation, joint venturing creation, flexible work hours, and the creation of buyers purchasing power. Now, some scholars have defined innovation. Let's highlight some of those definitions. Innovations are, according to Simons, innovations are new ideas that consist of new products and services, new use of existing product, new markets for existing product, or new methods or new marketing methods. All right. Another scholar, Evans, sees or defines innovation as the ability to discover new relationships of something from new perspectives and to form a new combination from existing concepts. So these are some notable definitions. Innovation can also be defined as the process that provides added value and a degree of novelty to the organization, the suppliers, the customers, developing new procedures, solutions, products, and services, and even new ways of marketing. These are some notable definitions that's notable definitions from scholars about innovation. Now, a comprehensive definition of innovation says that innovation can be defined as the application of new ideas to products, to processes, or other aspects of activities of a firm that leads to increased value. Now, for the entrepreneur, value is defined as a broad way to include higher value added for the firm and also benefits to the consumers or other firms. So value is not just limited to an organization. It encompasses the organization producing the product that is given the value. Even the consumer should perceive the value or receive the value. Other firms should also perceive such value. Now, there are two important concept definitions within innovation, and that is product and process innovation. These are two important aspects of innovation that we must take note of. Innovation could be a product innovation or a process innovation. There are others, but you need to take note of these two very important subs of innovation. Now, product innovation, what does it really mean? This is the introduction of new product or a significant qualitative change in an existing product. Why process innovation is the introduction of a new process for making or delivering goods and services. Let's talk about the dimensions of innovations. Innovation can have several dimensions. We have 5 dimensions. Innovation as something new, innovation as a conduit of change, innovation as a process, innovation as a value driver, and innovation as an invention. So these are the 5 dimensions of innovation. Now, what are the modes and types of innovations? We have three of them. The first is entrepreneurial innovation. The second is technological innovation. And the third is strategic innovation. Now, the types of, these are the modes, 3 modes of innovation. While the types of innovation, according to Lopez, while breaking them down, innovation, he broke them into 2 dimensions. That's the technology and market innovation, which gives the 2 different types of innovation that companies can go or can pursue. Now, look at this diagram. It will help us understand these different dimensions of or types of innovation. Types of innovation. Just look at this diagram. Now, you see architectural innovation on one side, radical innovation on the other side, incremental innovation on one side, disruptive innovation on one side. Now, take note of the spaces outside the boxes. You will see market and technology at 2 sides. And between market technology, you will see existing and new. And under technology, you have existing and new. And each of them, both existing and new, have incremental innovation and architectural innovation under each of these types of innovation. Now, let's explain them gradually so that we can get the picture clearly what they are up to. Now, remember last time we talked about theories and culture of entrepreneurship, and we mentioned a lot of theories that guide the action of the entrepreneur, that in several ways, the economic theory, classical theory, so many of them, we mentioned a lot of them. There are a couple of theories of innovation, and which we can say by extension are theories of entrepreneurship, but let's just keep them simple and call them theories of innovation. Now, Schumpeter's creative destruction is one of them. Joseph Schumpeter is an Australian economist and is considered an innovator, and he also defines or talks about innovation as a critical dimension of economic change, and believed that economic changes takes place due to innovation, entrepreneurial activities, and market power. So this is his picture of innovation. In his book, Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy, Schumpeter coined the term creative destruction, which he defined as a process of industrial mutation that incessantly revolutionized the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old one, incessantly creating a new one. So if you understand what he's trying to say in summary, it means that he's trying to describe what he thinks is creative destruction. In simple words, creative destruction is an important economic concept that can explain many of the dynamics of industrial changes, such as the transition of a competitive market structure to a monopolistic one, or vice versa. Now, I'll try to explain the way I understand it. Now, when he talks about creative destruction, he's talking about a situation where a product, let's say an existing product, when we look at this particular diagram, an existing product, for example, a vehicle is an existing product, but it's not new, it's an existing product, but something new can be done to a vehicle to make it, to add value to it. And such thing that's added that causes that add that value to it can make it more commercially viable. So an existing product, it makes it more economically viable. Now, for a new, entirely new product, if it comes out and is accepted, what it does to the old products that people were using before is that it destroys them. So it becomes, it's a creativity that comes in, and as it comes into the market accepts it, it shuts down the old one. For example, the introduction of computers in the market essentially ended the lifespan of typewriters. So once you become innovative, it means that your innovation, according to Schumpeter, can bring to an end an existing product. That is a creative destruction. The creativity causes destruction of something. That is what he's trying to say. Now, another theory of an innovation is the diffusion of innovation. This theory focuses on the factors that determine whether or not and at what pace an idea or an innovation will be adopted by members of a particular culture. Now, authors like Rogers stated that diffusion is a process by which an innovation is communicated through certain channels over a period of time among the members of a social system. Okay, let's move to another one. Another aspect of it, diffusion of innovation, according to Rogers, he says has 5 aspects. And that 5 aspects have been the focus of diffusion innovation. This diffusion of innovation has 5 aspects, and that 5 aspects is the focus of diffusion innovation. Let's list them. The first is the characteristics of an innovation which may influence its adoption. The second is the decision-making process that occurs when individuals consider adopting a new idea, a new product, or practice. The third is the characteristics of the individuals that make them likely to adopt an innovation. The fourth is the consequences for individuals and society of adopting an innovation. And then the fifth is the communication channels used in the adoption process. These are the 5 aspects that have to do with the focus of diffusion research. Now, still on the theories of innovation, Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory highlights 5 categories of innovation adopters. That is, those that will quickly go for an adoption of a new product, a new process, a new marketing avenue, or a new process, as we've talked about earlier. Which these 5 categories of innovation adopters are: 1, in the innovators. That's number 1. Number 2 is early adopters. Number 3 is early majority. Number 4 is late majority, and number 5 is the laggards. In the course of our discussion, we'll explain these ones in details, but let's move on and complete our explanation on the theories of innovation. Another theory of innovation is the TC model. The model was put forth by David TC in 1986 from his groundbreaking paper, Profiting from Technological Innovation. That paper was published in Research Policy. The model explains why firms can fail in appropriating economic returns from their innovations. According to his model, merely inventing a product is not just enough for a firm to benefit from it. There are two factors that can determine who can benefit from an innovation. And such factors are the technology, immutability, and the complementary assets. We have to explain this concept because you need to know what it means. These two factors that determine benefit from innovation are technological immutability and complementary assets. Immutability refers to how easily competitors can imitate or copy an innovation. To guide against this, firms can use innovation promotion mechanisms like intellectual property laws to protect their innovation, adopting secrecy and tact knowledge to protect their invention from imitation by competitors. Of course, if you produce something that is quite innovative, you have to protect it, or else people will copy it, sell it, and shortchange you from the profit you're supposed to get from your innovation. TC model also says that there's a complementary assets again to it. Is the second of the factors that determine the benefit from an innovation. This complementary asset refers to the assets that firms can deploy to ensure profit from an invention. These include activities such as distribution channels, brand names, marketing, customer service, alliances, and collaborations. All this put together, if a firm can really stop others from imitating their product by registering it as an intellectual property or copywriting it or registering a brand name and all that, or adopting a secrecy and a tactics of knowledge protection and all that, then such an organization will benefit from the innovation. Other types of theory of innovations are the disruptive innovation introduced by Clayton Christensen in 1997. Then we have the Utterbach-Abernathy in 1975. It's a model of innovation that explains how the whole innovation system goes through three distinct phases. The first is the fluid phase, the second is the transition phase, and the third is the specific phase. Then we also have the absorptive capacity, which was put forth by Cohen and Leventer in 1990, which talks about firms' ability to recognize the value of new external information, assimilate it, and apply it to commercial ends. Another theory of innovation is the Cornwall and Stout 1980 theory, which is the concept of innovation network. This refers to those networks that bring together radical different combination of knowledge or members who are geared towards adopting and embedding innovative ideas and radically creating new products and processes. So these are different theories that have been profiled concerning innovation. Now, what's the role of finance in innovation? The role of finance in innovation we'll be highlighting them now, and they are both funding needs and funding availability level. There are these two levels. That's where the role of finance of innovation for innovation are at. And this is closely related to the stages of development of a firm and its innovation project. So what role will finances play for you in innovation as an organization is determined first by the funding needs you have and the funding availability level that there is. Okay, now let's take them one by one. Number one is at the initial stage when inventions are developed and research is being conducted. Funds are needed. Funding is needed. Finances is needed. So you have an idea of how to improve a machinery, a process, and a marketing process or a marketing channel. At that initial stage, you need funds. You may have an idea to invest something at that initial stage, ideation stage, where the idea is still being planned and fine-tuned. You need funds. So when inventors or inventions are being developed and research being conducted, funds are needed. That is the initial stage. Then we have the advanced stage. What happens at the advanced stage again? At the advanced stage, this is when the prototype, of course, you can't talk about a prototype if you've not produced something. So you've invented that particular innovation, and then that innovation, the first ones is what you call the prototype, with which you demonstrate to people that I have a new product, I have a new process, I have a new gadget. So when these prototypes are being developed for investors to be attracted, it's called the advanced stage. And then the third is the final stage. At this level of technology diffusion and adoption, funding for scaling is needed. At this point, you have produced. You now need money to increase your production. That is, you need to scale. You want to increase your capacity to reach your customers, will-be customers. Now, what is the sources of finance for innovation? Sources of finance can be internal or external to the firm. When we say sources of finance is internal, what do we mean? It means that the organization can retain its earning. That is one of the sources of internal finances. Sources of finance, internal financing is retained earnings. That is, you make some money from your organization and you plow it back into the organization. The next is the profit accumulated over time. You put back your profit back, which have not been returned to shareholders. You put them back into the organization. These are internal sources of finance for innovation. Now, we also have external sources, things like debt and equity, as well as some hybrid forms. Venture capital funds, you seek venture capitalists to invest in your organization. These funds are coming from outside the organization. That's why they are referred to as external sources. And then you can sort funds from the capital market, among other sources. Now, issues in financing innovation and new ventures. What are the issues that there are? There are four basic problems that limit investors' willingness to invest capital. The first is uncertainty about the future. Once the investor is not clear, doesn't see a clear future of such an invention, once the investor can see a clear future of such process, he will not or her will not invest. So this is one of the issues in financing innovations or even a new venture. Number two is information gap. You may have a wonderful product. You may even have a wonderful way of executing and selling it. But once you can't pass that information clearly to your investors, they are always unwilling to invest in such an innovation. Number three is soft assets. What do we mean by that? It simply means that the assets are unique and rarely have markets that allow for the measure of their value. So leaders are less willing, or lenders are less willing to provide credit against such an asset. This brings to mind a particular saying that was used again and again in teaching marketing, where some group of salespersons were sent to a particular country that didn't have shoes to wear. And one of the sales reps came back and said, wow, people in this country don't wear shoes. We don't stand a chance in selling shoes to them. That's his own perspective to it. While another sales rep looked around and saw they were not wearing shoes and came back and reported and said, wow, they don't wear shoes in that country. That is an opportunity for us to convince them to wear shoes. And if we can convince them to wear shoes, we'll be the first to sell shoes to them. We'll be the first to enter that market and we'll do a lot of sales. Now, in that particular place, shoes may just be as well be seen as a soft asset because they may not be able to measure the values from the people's perspective. Now, they may not be able to measure the value of shoes to them because they've never used it before and they don't really need it until you convince them of that. So also is some innovation or ideas that an innovator or an entrepreneur has. They may just be so unique that it's difficult to quantify how useful it is. And if you can't do that, investors are unwilling to invest in such a new venture. Then the fourth is the volatility of current market conditions. That can affect investors into a particular innovation. Now, let's talk about the major financing instruments for promoting innovation. Financing instruments include: one, you can finance innovations through bank loans, personal funds, corporate venturing, government grants. Government can give you grants. Grants are loan facilities that don't require payments, repayments. They are given to you, but they don't require you to repay. You can also finance innovation through family and friends, through taking of debts, equities. Business angels can invest in your product, in your innovation. Then venture capitalists can still do the same. Then we have crowdfunding as also a major financing instrument, as well as tax incentives. Now, let's talk about change management as a concept. What does change management mean? Change management is a discipline that guides how we prepare, equip, and support individuals to successfully adopt change in order to drive organizational success and outcomes. Research shows that all changes are unique and all individuals are unique as well. Therefore, there are actions we can take to influence people in their transitions. If change is by force on people, normally people will resist it or problems will arise. Okay, so for change to be implemented, people must welcome it. Now, what are the key questions to ask before starting organizational change? Every organization often will want to implement one kind of change or the other. So what are those questions you need to ask? The first question is, what do we want to achieve with this change? The answers will give you an idea. We'll start giving you ideas. Number two is, why and how will we know that the change has been achieved? The answer will tell you when you start checking, okay, at this point, this has happened. People have started behaving this way. People have started changing from doing this and not doing this. These are important points for you to know. Then the third question is, who is affected by this change? So you know those you're going to be targeting for training and implementing the change upon. The fourth is, how will they react to this change? How will they react to it? And the fifth is, how much of this change can be achieved ourselves? And what part of the change do we need help with? Of course, sometimes the change may not just be, may not be implemented by you, the organization, directly. Some will require some external bodies to help you do it. Now, what are the levels of change management? There are 3 levels of change management. The first is individual change management. The second is organizational or initiative change management. And the third is enterprise change management capability. Enterprise change management capability. Now let's list some of the steps to implementing change. Some of the steps to implementing change. The first, communicate the rationale behind the need for change. Let's take an example for, let's take a particular scenario for an example. Now, there's an hospital that the staff tend to come late. And of course, when staff come late in an hospital, it affects the patients, it affects the entire productivity of the hospital. So hospital is a unique organization that requires a lot of discipline, or else a lot of things will go wrong. So let's take it for an example. The hospital management have decided now that we're going to change the attitude of our staff from coming late. So the first step to implementing such change is to communicate the rationale behind the need for change. So you go and explain to your staff that coming early will save lives. Coming early will save those that have worked the shift before from overstaying. And if they overstay and you come late, they will tend not to come early also, so that they can compensate for the time they have stayed, which you cost them to stay because you came late. So you communicate the rationale behind the need for change. Number 2, management support for the change. So you could say the support we want to give for coming early is that the most punctual staff will get an award at the end of the accounting year or at the end of the month. Number 3, employee improvement. You must try to create a scenario where you improve the employee so he can adapt to that change. Create something like that. Then implement the change in phases. You try to bring the change in phases. You don't bring it whole. If the change is so bulky and complex, you don't implement it as a whole. You break it into pieces, into phases. Number 5, implementation should involve a timeline. You can say the implementation should be first 2 weeks, the next step in the next 2 months, the next one in the next 6 months, and then the final one in the next 1 year. So you phase it out. You give it timelines for implementation. Number 6, you evaluate, review, and report on the change. This is very important because at each point of evaluation, there's always a decision to take. Should we continue? Should we improve? Should we tweak the way we are doing things? And that is quite important for such change. Number 7 is removing barriers. Of course, when change is coming, most people are averse to change. They don't really want to change. So such barriers that will encourage them not to change, you remove them. And number 8, celebrate successes. Once one is responding to change, celebrate it. Once an organization has improved a lot, celebrate it. It can be very, very encouraging. Now, let's talk about factors that are driving the change. Factors that are driving the change. The first factor is 1, believe that the change will gain, or that the people that are being changed, that they will gain an advantage or benefit personally from the change. Once the staff of an organization or those that change is being implemented upon believe that they will gain an advantage or become better for it, or there's a particular personal benefit that will come from that change, it's a key factor that can drive the change. Of course, one of those, let's use the example we talked about people coming early and all that to the hospital. You can tell them they can win something. You can tell them that anyone that implements this change, we can qualify for a scholarship, and you see people scrambling to be part of those that will come early. Number 2, factor that can drive, or that are drivers to change, is compare the change to their current state and identify similarity. You compare the changes to the current state of the staff, and then you try to identify similarities. Then you try to understand the change despite its complexity. You bring about understanding of such change despite its complexity, and then you test the change and then learn from others who have had success with the change. These are some factors that are driving change. Now, let's talk about technological change and management innovation as we begin to round up. In economics, a technological change is an increase in the efficiency of a product or process that results in an increase in output without an increase in input. Do you see that? All right. Technological change is an increase in the efficiency of a product or process that results in an increase in the output without an increase in input. In other words, someone invents or improves a product or process, which is then used to get a better reward for the same amount of work. For example, the phone. We all have phones. The phone have undergone several kinds of changes or different types of changes over the years, and have made and those changes have made it more efficient over the years. It has moved in 3 key stages over the years. The first is when the phone came out, we call it the invention. That is the creation of the new product or the process, invention. The second is innovation, the application of invention for the first time. That's innovation. Everybody say, oh, the phone just came. It's an innovative idea to communicate with people. Then the third is diffusion, how fast others begin to adopt to the innovation. People now start adapting to using the phone, and so on and so forth. Now, what's the impact of technological change? It creates new product and processes. And number two, it increases efficiency and lowers cost. It helps economies to evolve as well as grow or develop. Now, because some of us may say, what are you trying to say by saying technological change? Now, technology actually is the adoption of science to solve human needs. All right. So if you say technological change, it means adoption of science to solve human needs in various ways. And that can create new products, and that can create new processes, and that can increase efficiency, that can lower costs, and that can improve economies as well as bring about development. That's what we mean by impact of technological change. How technology changed entrepreneurship. Let's talk about that a bit. How technology changed entrepreneurship. The first is the power of social media. Most of us have social media handles. If you don't have one, you've been affected by one. And such handles are things like platforms like Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. These are the most popular ones. Even there's some that are not very popular, but they're very effective. Now, social media has a lot of power. Social media has a lot of power. And if you neglect that, you'll be neglecting it at your own peril. You'll be neglecting it at your own peril. So, the power of social media has brought about online advertising. People can advertise from the comfort of their home through their social media handles, generating of business leads, expanding businesses, and so on. I remember going for a seminar to teach farmers on how to use their socials for innovatively. And I pointed out the fact that you can use the simple phone you have on your hand. Most of them have smartphones to advertise whatever it is you are doing. You're a poultry farmer, you can snap the progress of your farm and put it on your status every morning. People may not buy your product at the first instance, but whenever they need product, they will remember that they've been seeing you advertising product, poultry product, and they will call upon you. They need eggs, they need meat, and all that. And that's a powerful social media tool. So that's one way technology has changed entrepreneurship. The second is increase in virtual offices. Most people don't need physical offices anymore. They just need to have a virtual office. Virtual offices, the idea of virtual offices is the idea of working from home. So what is new is that technology is enabling more companies to shed their physical offices and set up virtual offices, complete with receptionists and a brick and mortar address. Statistics about the number of people who work for virtual offices were not available as at the time we're checking up before I prepare for this class. However, self-employed workers were 3 times more likely than other workers to work at home, according to a survey by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So you see, virtual offices are offices that are existing on the internet. They don't have any physical office, yet they have physical addresses. And the third way how technology have changed entrepreneurship is cloud computing. This allows businesses to operate online without having to maintain their own servers, routers, and other expensive hardware. Most of us have Android phones, and Google gives us what we call Google Drive. And with Google Drive, you have a maximum of 15,000 or so, 15 gigabytes of storage space where you can store pictures, videos, and other things. All right. Even your Google Mail is stored there. Now, this is called cloud computing because if you use the Google Drive and every other drive, because there are other cloud computing architecture that are existing, if you use them, you can access it with your phone. You can access it from your laptop, from your tablet, once you have a login to that cloud computing platform. And this has allowed businesses to operate online without even having to maintain any server themselves, by just uploading all their materials to their cloud computing site. And from there, they share it across according to how they need it. Okay, that's about what we have to talk about today. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate your presence. I would like you to unmute yourself at this point, and and um, and try to ask your questions. I would respond to them. But if you don't have a question, we can call it a day today. I believe you can see the polls. Please fill them because I'm about shutting down for the day. Okay, thank you all for showing up for today's class. I want to appreciate Cosmos, Chinemelum, Emenike, Uzioma, John Miracle, and there are two others here. I can't figure who they are. Then we have Isaac, we have Uzuamaka. Thank you all for showing up. I will take your questions. If you can ask your questions now online, you can go to the platform where we have our class platform and ask the questions. I will respond to you accordingly. All right. Thank you all for joining, and